Over the past few weeks, we have had both the Iowa Caucus, where votes are super secure in brown paper bags, and the New Hampshire Republican Primary. But before I go any further, I want to focus on the Iowa Caucus for two reasons. The first of which has to do with what I said in my opening line for this segment, and that we have video of from the Iowa Caucus showing votes being written on slips of paper and being placed in the popcorn buckets and paper bags. I'm not even kidding. This is that fucking stupid. Don't believe me? Take a look at the video for yourself. Yeah, the future of the free world, folks. That actually happened. So, Republicans out there who claim they are all for election integrity, I don't want to hear another goddamn word about how you care about election integrity when this is how the Iowa caucus is run. You don't deserve to be able to say, we care for election integrity, when it's pretty obvious you don't. Now, as we know, Donald Trump won the Iowa caucus, which saw lower than average voter turnout due to severe weather or severe winter storms, actually. We keep hearing the mainstream media going on saying that Trump won Iowa by a landslide. Well, as it turns out, no, not really. Because you see, the part the mainstream media is leaving out is that Donald Trump only got 7% of the vote in the Iowa caucus, with only 15% of Iowa voters coming out to vote in the caucus overall. And that's according to a report by CBS News. To me, this shows a major enthusiasm problem for the Republican Party in 2024. It really does. Trump's cult members are going to vote for him no matter what he says or does, which is not a surprise, and honestly, why I'm not factoring them into this equation because of that. They're going to vote for him no matter what, plain and simple. But yes, this is not looking good for the Republican Party at all, especially with only two candidates left in the Republican primary, which I want to take a moment to talk about those we have lost, if you will. So Chris Christie ended up dropping out, which I'm not gonna lie, it kind of bummed me out. From one fat person to another fat person. Fat people unite, blah blah blah. Lonnie Love, insert a quote from her there. He might have been Trump's shadow, so to speak, for lack of a better way of putting it, throughout the first term. But after January 6th, that tone definitely changed. And it did show me that he was willing to put country over party, but he should have done that before the events of January 6th. So, with that being said, from one fat fuck to another, and I mean this in terms of fat people looking out for one another, even if they have different political opinions, Chris Christie, you will be sorely missed. Vivek Ramaswamy dropped out after getting 4% of the vote in the Iowa caucus. There was a video announcement. I'm not going to even play it because I'm really trying to get through this video as it is. My back's been bothering me, so bear with me here. But the way Vivek only got 4% of the vote in the Iowa caucus, yeah, that was Iowa voters essentially saying to Vivek, thank you, fuck you, bye. So you will not be missed, Mr. Ramascammy. And last but not least, Ron DeSantis, the man who is unfortunately the governor of my home state of Florida, dropped out. And I really want to talk about this one because in a video he posted to Twitter announcing that he was dropping out from the Republican Party, Ron DeSantis ended up saying this.
Winston Churchill once remarked that success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. While this campaign has ended, the mission continues.
Now, on the surface, this comes across as a nice way to end the video where you are announcing the end of your campaign, except there's one problem. According to New York Times, the quote is falsely attributed to Winston Churchill, according to the International Churchill Society, who said this. We can find no attribution to either one of these, and you will find that they are broadly attributed to Winston Churchill. They are found nowhere in his canon, however. And to be quite honest, that's not the funniest part, as a Twitter user found the quote in question as it appeared in a 1938 print ad for Budweiser beer. I am not even making this up. And if you think I'm going to pass up on the moment to read this advertisement to you all, you are sorely mistaken. You can't tell him there's no fishing. Let the weatherman talk. Let the expert scoff. Youth goes fishing for the fun of it, in all kinds of weather, in all kinds of waters. The man who has lost the spirit of youth is too busy with gloomy forecasts to gather bait, much less go fishing. Men with the spirit of youth pioneered our America, excuse me. Men with the vision and sturdy confidence. They found entertainment in the thrill of action, knowing that success was never final and failure never fatal. It was the courage that counted. Isn't opportunity in America today greater than it was in the days of our grateful forefathers? Live life, every golden minute of it. Enjoy Budweiser, every golden drop of it. Now, there is one silver lining about Ron DeSantis dropping out, and that was bipartisan mockery. Let me read you some of the Twitter comments people were posting after DeSantis released his video announcing he was dropping out of the Republican primary race as compiled by Mediaite. So let me click over to the article real quick. One user said, DeSantis' implosion is more confirmation that anti-woke politics has completely fizzled. DeSantis organized his entire governorship and campaign on this theme. Now Moms for Liberty is losing everywhere. Youngkin failed disastrously, and where woke goes to die, Ron is kaput. Another user said, I've covered lots of pathetic presidential campaigns, but none as aggressively, deliberately, expensively bad as DeSantis's. Another user wrote, peak 2024 GOP, dropping out and endorsing the candidate who humiliated you for a year, but doing it in a web video because you're too embarrassed to account for all Trump said and did. And because you want to get in one last Fauci reference. That, of course, referring to Dr. Anthony Fauci of the CDC. Another user wrote, look, I totally get the urge to name Ron DeSantis' campaign the worst of all time. They blew $130 million for 21,000 votes in Iowa and likely a single digit performance in New Hampshire. But the problems start with DeSantis. He has never been comfortable in his own skin. No shit. Actor Mark Hamill chimed in with a quote of his own. You belong in the Terrible Candidates Hall of Fame. That's actually pretty good. I like that. Mehdi Hassan, formerly of MSNBC. I believe he left MSNBC recently. I could be wrong. Congrats to the Crack DeSantis communications team. Christina Pushaw, Ryan Griffin, and Jeremy Redfern for being unable to get their guy to New Hampshire. One of the most embarrassing, hapless, and disastrous campaigns in memory. They couldn't even teach Ron to smile. No shit. Another user wrote, Ron DeSantis literally launched his campaign on Twitter. His campaign was dominated by terminally online people. So because Calacanis wants to fit DeSantis' failure into a pre-existing narrative, he just makes up an imaginary history in which DeSantis didn't even engage with new media. And this is a reference to somebody by the name of Jason Calacantis, who wrote, another one bites the dust. Folks didn't find him inspiring. That's true. He didn't engage with new media podcasts, X, Twitter like Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, Robert Kennedy Jr., and Dean Phillips, etc. That's actually bullshit. He launched his campaign on Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk. So that's a lie. He wouldn't take on the incumbent. That's actually true until it was too late, actually. So half true on that one. And then finally said reportedly he didn't build a great team. Well, no shit. He clearly didn't. Another user by the name of Johnny Maga wrote, DeSantis bends the knee, in a reference to Trump saying that he's able to get lawmakers to bend the knee to his will. Donald Trump crackpot superfan Laura Loomer, and who is also a self-described journalist, said there won't be more to come because DeSantis's career is over and everyone who worked for him is forever blacklisted. Okay, that's a load of shit right there. They're probably not going to be blacklisted. Ron's career's over, yes. Once his time as Florida governor is over, but I don't see them being blacklisted. You supported the worst candidate ever. Okay, that's true. She's obviously referring to Ryan Griffin because this is who this is directed at. Excuse me. And now you have to live with that for the rest of your life. You will never be taken seriously again. Given the policies that he would side with, and yeah, that's actually true. I've never taken this guy seriously, much like I haven't taken you seriously either, Laura. Another person wrote, DeSantis started his campaign on Twitter with a malfunctioning Spaces and ended his campaign on Twitter with a fake Winston Churchill quote. Okay, that's actually a pretty good summary of Ron DeSantis' entire campaign. And then finally, Gavin Newsom joined in on the dogpiling and said, fire sale on all Ron DeSantis merch today. I don't think anybody's going to buy it. They're probably going to do what Mitt Romney's campaign did, to ship it to Africa, because they'll gladly wear anything in terms of clothing. But holy fucking shit. I'm sorry, I needed a good laugh before moving on to New Hampshire and its Republican primary. Donald Trump won the Republican New Hampshire primary, having received 54% of the vote, while Nikki Haley actually overperformed and received 43% of the vote. Again, this is from CBS News. And during his victory speech, Donald Trump ended up saying something that the lawyers for E. Jean Carroll could use against him, according to legal analyst Lisa Rubin in a new report from Raw Story. This part from Lisa Rubin coming from Raw Story. So let me read you what Lisa Rubin's exact words were that she wrote in a post to Twitter. She starts off by quoting Trump for what he said here, so let me just get that out of the way. I don't get too angry, I get even. Donald Trump tonight celebrating his victory in New Hampshire and giving E. Jean Carroll's lawyers more ammunition for cross-examination should he testify in the ongoing trial. Now, I did look at my phone in between takes and getting this video uploaded, and yeah, Trump is taking the stand from what I've ended up seeing, So, good job, dumbass! Now, for the record, Donald Trump has already lost one court case to E. Jean Carroll where he was found liable for allegedly raping her in the 1990s and for defaming her. The current trial that is going on is now purely about assessing additional damages, which she has a pretty strong case for, despite Alina Habba's best efforts. And I use the words best efforts loosely here to get that thrown out. So Trump won Iowa and New Hampshire, and in the process of giving his victory speech after winning New Hampshire, he just handed E. Jean Carroll's lawyers more ammunition they could use against him during cross-examination because Donald Trump can't help himself at all. And Alina Habba will most likely fail at helping Trump because she is that fucking incompetent as his lawyer. But there is one more takeaway from the New Hampshire Republican primary that isn't a possible liability for E. Jean Carroll lawyers to capitalize on. It's the fact that Trump looks weaker than expected, and after how surprisingly close the New Hampshire primary was, because like I said, Nikki Haley ended up overperforming. According to Deputy Politics Director for the Daily Beast, Sam Brody, and given it's coming from the Daily Beast, take this with a grain of salt. Sam Brody had this to say. In Tuesday's primary election, Nikki Haley did not pull off the stunning upset win over Trump that she hoped for. She may not even keep the race within single digits. But she did show that the former president isn't quite as strong as he projected, with New Hampshire offering a split outcome that could prolong this 2024 primary race instead of pulling the plug on it. Pulling the plug, which just so happens to be what RNC chair Ronna Romney McDaniel has been trying to do by telling Nikki Haley, hey, drop out. You're hurting my guy. Because the Republican Party is nothing but a personality cult at this point. Going back to what Sam Brody had to say, while the final results will take quite a while, Haley appears to have kept the New Hampshire primary somewhat competitive, though she didn't quite give Trump a true scare. After the polls closed at 8 p.m., it only took a matter of minutes for the Associated Press to call the primary for Trump. The former president is currently up by about 12 points, with 25% of New Hampshire reporting. All right, so as I pointed out already, Trump won with 54% of the vote, while Nikki Haley received 43% of the vote. This was written as the final votes were being counted. So let's go back to hear what else Sam Brody had to say. Trump and his team will, of course, celebrate the win, but it's far from the massive victory Trump was predicting Monday night. Indeed, Trump was already complaining about the result before the polls had even closed. Posting to his Truth Social account that it was so ridiculous that Democrats and independents were allowed to vote in the primary. Registered Democrats are not allowed to vote in the primary. But word is we are doing really well, Trump nevertheless insisted. Okay, so let's do some quick math here. 54% minus 43%, that's 11%. Trump only won the New Hampshire Republican primary by 11%. That's not much of a landslide, Donald. Fuck, that's not really a massive victory. So where do we go from here? I'm not a gambling man like Husk from Has Been Hotel is, but I feel that Nikki Haley should stay in the Republican primary. She has a chance, albeit a slim one, but she has a chance. And if it means Donald Trump is shitting bricks, I'm all